You know, a lot of you, I'm sure, have heard the folks from Jacksonville, Florida, yell out, Duval! Well, that's because it's Duval County. It's the whole city of Jacksonville and the whole county are all one. But to me, Duval means this, Duval Connection. It's out here on the Seaboard SP line between Beaver Street and Baldwin. And this leg of the Y, this is the north leg, about a quarter mile that way is the south leg. They both lead up north to the Duval ramp. That's where the intermodal yard is. The folks here in Jacksonville at CSX call it the Jax ramp. But to me, it's always Duval. This is where we're starting out our Railfan Weekend today. So come on along and let's see what we can find.
Some pieces of the old Seaboard main line are as mighty today as they were in the SAL heyday. This is not one of them. We are at S625.4, the south end of EASTPORT Yard in Jacksonville, the now Kingsland subdivision, short-lined north of Yulee and abandoned north of Kingsland. CSX didn't get rid of this stretch because there is so much industrial business on it. This morning they're doing routine maintenance on the S-line with a Sperry rail machine. The Sperry rail truck is a rolling scanner that detects defects in the rail using ultrasound, electrical, and visual methodology. These are defects that are usually invisible to the human eye. The routine track inspector won't catch them. The truck scans and records the exact spot of the faults and relays the information to track crews. The operator told the track foreman he was coming up on the grass crossing, which I took to mean some kind of farm road that was grass covered. It was actually right here, the entrance to Anheuser-Busch's Nutri-Turf grass farm. The beer maker operates this 1,100-acre spread not so much as a farm, but as a wastewater treatment plant. Instead of dumping their effluent from the nearby Budweiser plant into the river, they spray the nutrient-filled water onto their sod farm and sell the grass to golf courses and highway contractors. The runoff is as clean as when it came out of the well. Genius. CSX keeps a set of road switchers here at Busch Yard where they work nearby customers up and down the line. It was early and they weren't yet working, and anyway, I had to get back to the ACL and SAL Historical Society meetings. The first thing on the agenda Saturday morning was the big Southeastern Model and Collector Show. This is the anchoring event of the Jax Railfan Weekend. For me, this is just a chance to catch up with old Railfan friends, and there are always lots of them here. My friend Paul Knutson brought out his HO scale yard module, just to give everyone a look. It's small, but it won Best in Show at the 2017 NMRA convention. One of the coolest layouts this year was this one. Not so much for the train, but for the bad weather it was heading into. A Sharknado. Very cool. I only stayed a couple of hours at the show because Jacksonville is my favorite railfanning town, and the weather outside was perfect, so I had to get back out to the iron. The radio brought me here, the lead to Duval Yard, also known as Jax Ramp. Ready to blast off was northbound Q032. Q032 comes out of the south end of the yard, takes the north leg at Duval Connection, then running eastward toward West Jax, turning northward at Beaver Street Tower, through Moncrief Yard, and leaving town toward Folkestone, Charleston, and points north. He takes this oddball circuitous routing because Q032 is scheduled to leave during one of Norfolk Southern's critical arrival and departure windows for a couple of its big trains. So in order not to block NS as they cross it on the Densmore Connection, they go out the south end of Duval. CSX puts certain trains together on the south end of the ramp. This Jax to North Bergen, New Jersey hotshot is all single stacks and piggybacks. No double stacks account the Howard Street Tunnel in Baltimore. It's about 1.5 feet too low for them, but CSX is working on that right now. I heard Q455 hit the defect detector at Ratliff, just south of Callahan. He was over 11,000 feet and would have to meet this piggyback train somewhere over there on the A-line, still in the Jax terminal. So I swung around Edgewood Avenue and onto Edgewood Drive, an A-line crossing I knew very well. I was betting they would meet around here, and for once, I was right. Q032 showed up pretty soon, now headed northward and on his way out of town. And right there was Q455, but he was tiptoeing down to Moncrief Yard. He does make a stop there to do work, but he was going really slow for that. He's still a couple of miles north. He'd either gotten an approach at the previous signal, or the yardmaster had asked him to hold up for something.
Now this right here, this train going that way, that train going that way. It's why I like to say Edgewood is good.
Q455 and counterpart 456 are Waycross to Taft Orlando trains with a stop to do work in Moncrief. And lately, he's been a monster. Still photographers don't care much for tree-shrouded track, but I think the broken shade, called dappling, makes interesting video. 5 minutes of this and 455 was down to walking speed. Clearly he was coming up to a stop signal somewhere down there, probably the NS crossing just north of Moncrief Yard. Finally he eased down to a full stop. Now I'd set up on the west side of the crossing because I know the afternoon light would be good on the train.
And here's something I didn't know. Edgewood is now a dead end up there. They've cut the road and blocked it off. It's a dead end about 500 feet that way. And this train, Q455, has had to stop. He's got a stop signal down at the southern crossing, just as he enters Moncrief Yard. So here I sit.
He stood for almost 30 minutes while I waited, and then, finally.
All right, so finally here at 1452, I hear that the train going across the southern down there has cleared. And at 4:55, after 30 minutes, it's rolling again. Yay! Woo! I thought I was going to be stuck here all day. I don't have very much to eat.
Q455 would finally clear Edgewood Drive, and I was finally on my way. I swung down to another favorite spot, Old Kings Road on the west side of the tracks. This is at the very north end of the Atlantic Coastline's Moncrief Yard. While not a giant terminal, Moncrief contains a sizable main yard and several smaller yards, including the Fruit Growers Express car repair shops. That's the long set of tracks and buildings veering off to the right. At 16:30, Amtrak 98 showed up, rolling on Track 2 up to his Jacksonville station stop. After the meteor, it was time to get back to the Crowne Plaza for the Historical Society's night program. Sunday morning, I'm right back at Old Kings Road, but this time on the eastern side of the tracks. The full moon was setting over Q456 as he was doubling his train for the morning run to Waycross. Just then, down came AMTRAK 91, about 2 minutes out of his Jacksonville station stop. That signal for Southern Crossing is the same one we flew behind last night when we caught AMTRAK 98. Approach medium at the intermediate signal through Moncrief Yard. At this point, Q456 was almost ready to go, but he's getting to be so long lately the conductor would need a bus ride to the head end. They would have to pull north past Grand Junction and past AMTRAK up to Edgewood Drive. I got here and set up, but on the east side this time. I wasn't taking any chances. Plus, the morning light was better on this side. In a few minutes, the crew bus arrived with the conductor, and he wasn't taking any chances either, going up to the dead end, turning around before the drop-off. And 456 was off to Waycross. There's hardly any vehicle traffic at Edgewood anymore since they closed it at the NS, and even though they've replaced the old crossing signal lamps with LEDs, they've left the old electromagnetic striker bells. I moved over to Birdville, which used to be a short drive up Edgewood until NS closed their crossing. The Birdville store has finally succumbed to the racetrack, Wawa, Walmart, Chipotle business culture. Little stores like this just can't compete anymore. Birdville is at the top of the NS Simpson Yard, and just west of the tracks is Watco Railcar Services. They do repair and maintenance on all kinds of rolling stock. On the main line, NS 330 was blasting off from Jacks to Macon, Georgia. 330 is the same type of mixed freight train as CSX Q456, but I don't think he's as long today, though he could be. The GSNF main line to Macon has a number of big sidings that could pass an 11,000-foot train. So if you're looking for good rail fanning in a fairly tight space, not an awful lot of driving you have to do, 3 major railroads all in one small area, I recommend Duval, Jacksonville. So until the next time when we meet up out there somewhere on the high iron, this is Danny Harmon.